want to come up with a name for this show. It should be People Smarter Than Me with Dr. Ryan Bones.
Well, I'm glad I'm the first guest.
And you are the first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Amy Spoelstra, Spoelstra Family Chiropractic, and the Focus Program right here in beautiful Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Amy, could you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh, what do you want to know, Ryan?
Everything.
All the things. Well, I have all day because here I am at home. So,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. I'm in Coeur d'Alene. I've been here for 13 years and a pediatric neuro-based chiropractor. My experience before I was a chiropractor was heavily influenced by neuroeducation and neurooptometry. And so I brought that lens. I always say, like, those of you chiropractors watching, because I think we do have some chiropractors. It's like our local community, right, Ryan? And then we also have some chiropractors in here. I always say, like, there's people that were chiropractic kids that grew up within the profession in this more holistic or vitalistic approach. That was not me, but I was a neuro kid. I was raised knowing a lot of about neurology and developmental neurology, which is really strange, but has served me well. And so, so I became a chiropractor and I kind of brought these worlds together. And now my area of focus and specialty is working with kids and adults with neuro-deflective disorders. And
what is that? What is a neuro-deflective disorder?
Yeah, like, what is that? Behavioral, learning, socialization, developmental challenges, and chronic stress responses in adults, and traumatic brain injuries, which can be what we classify as can be kind of a traumatic brain injury as well. So, or a chronic stress response, sorry. And so, we work with people who have differences or deflections in the way that they're processing their world, engaging with, learning from, connecting with, and processing their world, which happens to be a lot of individuals with behaviors, hyperactivity, attention deficit, learning challenges, social anxiety, autism spectrum, these type of things. But, we always say, like, we want to put a label on things. It's really just people in general that we don't necessarily need a diagnosis. And really what we're looking at and what I specialize in looking at is, look, we have to look at what we know about the brain, and then we have to know what stress does to the brain, and specifically the developing brain, and not just physical stress, but physical, chemical, and emotional stress, and what that can do, or the impact that can have on the developing brain or the already developed brain.
Right.
And then what do we do about it?
That's a perfect segue, because the reason that I wanted to bring you on is because we got a lot of people who are stuck at home right now. They are very stressed out or very sympathetic, and they are essentially cooped up with the person that they love very much and decided to spend the rest of their life with, their spouse or significant other. And many people are with their wonderful and loving children. This can lead to some increased stress at certain times. So given that, how can people understand how their spouse or their significant other or their children are reacting in this time? What can they look for, and what difference does all this stress make on this?
Wow, so huge. So yes, we're all in different scenarios. Our worlds have changed a little bit. Our schedules have changed. Our predictability has changed, which just changing your ability or decreasing your ability to just like predict what's going to happen next, or how your day is going to look, or how your next 10 minutes is going to look, or whatever, that in itself increases a stress response, increases potentially deflections of like anxiety within us. And so within everybody, even in the fully developed, fully functional, look, this is a moving target for all of us right now. And so that does evoke stress in all of us, including myself. That's normal, right? Right. And so the thing that I'm really passionate about right now is saying, like, look, we have to help parents especially, but all of us, because we're all at home, like you said, with some of us, and also we have people that are extremely isolated, and because they don't live with anybody. That's another scenario.
Right. That's another stress.
that is a stress, and that's something that I think is really important, and we should talk about that from a mental health perspective. We're talking about that in our practice and what we're doing with those individuals that may be at really high risk for some things right now because of that. So that's another topic, but really, you know, understanding that we know how to look at, like, let's say your kid has a cold or a virus or something like this that is, you know, causing their neuroimmune system to have an increased reaction, which is a pretty normal, healthy thing. That's adapting to something that's coming in. That's what we want the body to do. Well, let's say that it increases the temperature, the internal, you know, body temperature, which would be a fever, right? First of all, we know that's a good thing. That's the body doing its job. But we have this tool, we have this thermometer, or like, I'm a mom, so like, I just can tell. I like put my lips on my kid's forehead, and I'm like, she's actually started coming up to me, Mom, will you put your lips on my forehead? Do I have a fever?
Oh man, the momometer.
The moms know about this, but we have a tool, right, to take this temperature, and we take the temperature and we do the lip thing or whatever, and we're like, okay, yeah, your body is a little stressed right now. It's working harder. It's doing some different things. It's taxed. So my expectation of my daughter's behavior in that scenario is really different. I'm like, it makes sense that you're kind of a little whinier, or you're like lethargic, or you just, you know, you're sleeping more, or you're not wanting to eat, or you're, you know, like these outward manifested behaviors make a lot of sense to me when I use my tool to understand, or I use whatever I use, my cognitive ability, using what I've learned in the past to this tool to know, like, oh, your body is under stress and working very appropriately, by the way. But that's happening, and that alters my expectation of you. That would be a very inappropriate time for me to be like, okay, Mila, it's time to practice your writing. You know, or, you know, like, be like, you know, drill her on an expectation of like, I told you to make your bed. Like, I told you to make your bed and you didn't do it. Right. Or not to say we throw all parenting out the window, but like, we have a different expectation. Now, let's take that to like right now. So we had that tool to understand that it was a window into her body, inside her body, into how her body was adapting to this stressor. Now we have this stressor, this incredible stressor, actually, of her whole world has changed, right? Like, and take this kids, I'm using Mila as an example because she's my kid, and, you know, we're doing these same things. But she can't go to school. She's not engaging with her friends. Mom and dad are home all day, which is weird. And what do I do with that dynamic? And well, they're home all day, so shouldn't they just be playing with me all day? And what is this? Like, Mom, she's saying, Mom, do you have to do another call? It's so boring. Right? And so her stress, because her world, she doesn't even understand what's happening because she's 4, but she does understand that something's different. Her stress response is elevated because things are different. She doesn't know how to expect or predict, or how to predict. So her anxiety is a little increased. So my expectation of her behavior, or understanding of her deflections, which is the way she's engaging with her environment, she's doing it in a less efficient way, or in a different way than maybe she was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So I have to understand that from a parenting and from an interpersonal and from a learning perspective.
What will that look like to a parent? Like, what sort of behaviors, what sort of actions can they recognize and say, oh, this is what Dr. Amy was talking about. This is a deflection. What does that look like? So
it can be different. I have a tool, resource, a brain-based parenting resource that we created. I don't know where the link is to it, but if anybody in here already has it, maybe you can share it. We can share it later. My team and I worked really hard because we knew this was going to be a thing that we needed to get out there. So we have this tool that's got these, like, it's an ever-expanding thing. It's basically just a landing page on our website, on the Dr. Amy website. You can subscribe.
What is the website? I'll throw it up here really quick.
Well, it's dramyspoelstra.com, but this is, I don't think you can go navigate to this tool. You have to subscribe to it because it's like on a private, it's on a secret page. But anyways, it's just free. We're not selling you anything. It's just this free tool that has, and we're putting new lessons and resources up daily, every day. And they're like these little bite-sized videos. So like the first 4 or 5 is actually like, the first video is like this 3-minute video of me describing like, here's what a deflection is. The next video is like, okay, how do you know what your kid's deflection is? Like, how do you pinpoint that? What's the thermometer for your kid looking at their behavior? What's the tool so you know what their behavior is when they're in stress? Then what do you do? So we take you through this. So we literally give you, and they're like little bite-sized pieces because we don't want to stress you guys out too much either.
And this is on dramyspoelstra.com. Is that where you go to get it?
We'll put the link in there.
Okay.
If anybody who's already watching, like, put it up.
We'll put a link. You can get to this. We'll find it for you. We'll get it to you.
Yeah, we'll get it to you. And so we have like after we go through the getting you guys this tool, which I'm going to explain some of that right now, anyways. But then we have like okay, how do I create like one of the little lessons? It's like a 7-minute lesson. Is like, here's a tool. We need to give your kids some control and prediction in this scenario, and so we need to create a safe place in the house. They need to create this. They need to have some control over creating this place. Well, so that when they're escalated, when they're stressed, when they're having behaviors, when you're having challenges with them, then we have this place that they can go, kind of like a sensory corner, but more specific to them based on what they need. And we kind of teach you like how to make this with them and then how to use it appropriately. So tons of like little things like that to just help parents, because parents are in stress and your kids are in stress, and we need to understand how to do this. And you can do this same stuff for yourself. I have a little sensory corner. It's my Peloton bike. I'm like, I've got a lot going on too. I own multiple businesses, and I've got, I'm a mom and all that stuff. And I'm like, I need to deflect in a movement way. I know that's what my brain needs. So we should talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I like that, which actually leads me to what my next question is. How about for adults? I mean, being cooped up with your significant other can, while you love them, a lot of people are not used to spending the amount of time all day, every day around their spouse, and everyone's at high stress. And so what sort of friction can that create? And because I know what it looks like in our house, where Cassidy and I can get short with each other, or we don't listen to each other as well, or we can get very stubborn. And by learning from you, we've realized, okay, this is not a direct reflection of her or me. We're both in our brainstem right now, as we say, where we're sympathetic, we're fight and flight, right? We're in this fight and flight state where literally our brain doesn't process the same way, and causes us to not be as calm and understanding and rational. Now, combine that with being cooped up with them all day, and this is where fights can explode, and we can really break out. So I think, just like you said, having almost a corner that you can retire to, a sensory corner for each of you, can help you split up. If things are getting heated, split up, go to your sensory corners, get back more into frontal brain, come back and have a much more smooth and understanding conversation. Is that right?
Love it. That's perfect. And let me just add just a few details to that, which would be helpful. Any of you who've taken any of my classes ever know, like, I throw myself and my family right under the bus. I'm like, we're going to talk about our own challenges, right? Because we're people and we have brains, and we have stress, and stress affects all brains. So, so here's the thing. My deflection, meaning stress is coming in, I'm adapting. This is where chiropractic comes in. We help with the adaptation of stress, right? But there are limitations to matter. And so sometimes stress overcomes the ability to adapt. So stress is coming in, physical, chemical, emotional, time like this, lots of stress. And when that adaptation, when that threshold has been hit, my retreating from whole brain, or moving out of my cortex and more into my brainstem, looks like this. Movement. I'm movement touch. Yeah. Bones.
Yep.
Bones.
Big time.
Movement, touch, and auditory verbal. This is from the first hierarchy of brain development. Any chiropractors or educators who've taken level 1 know what this is about. But let me just teach any of you out there and parents. Anyways, so I'm responding to stress. I'm moving out of my cortex. I'm more in my primitive brain. I'm not making, like, this is not a good time to engage me with like really, logic and reasoning and long-term future and you nevers and I always is and that kind of stuff. This is my behavior. You see me, you come in contact with me one day and I'm pacing around and I'm clicking my pen, I'm in movement, touch, and I'm in auditory verbal. If you come in, any of you out there, you come in contact with me and I'm doing this, that is you just took my thermometer. You just took my temperature with your thermometer, with your Neuro-Deflective or brain-based tool. Oh, Amy's in stress. Maybe let her do that for a minute before we engage her, not in long-term stuff. Or say, is there a better time for me to do this with you right now? Because clearly I'm doing something right now. I'm in more of my brainstem. So here's how it's going in my house right now. My husband's, David, well, let me expand that a little more. So I'm more in my brainstem. I'm collapsed like this. And what I'm doing is I'm just going from task to task and I am like getting stuff done. I'm helping our team. I'm helping our patients. I'm doing this stuff. I'm in go mode, right? This is me. And I'm in my brainstem and I am producing and I'm doing it like this. And what I tend to do is I have a collapsed view, which makes sense when you look at the neurology. And so I'm leaving like little crumbs everywhere and I'm like leaving my socks on the stairs. I hope
Kathy is listening to this. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I have my Zevia can that I had like poured into here and I'm just like leaving it wherever I was standing at the time. And my husband's deflections are stress happens and he goes into this massive control of his environment, which makes sense. And it's a little more sophisticated than my deflection actually. And he cleans everything. So his deflection, I know that my husband is deflecting and more in his brainstem when he is like massively organizing and cleaning. And like, it's like the moment he wakes up and he's doing this and he's doing this and he's not engaging and talking and looking. And this is where he is. He's collapsing this way. So we've got me making messes everywhere and like doing things. And we've got my husband who's like following me around and cleaning up and not talking. So can you imagine? So here's the key. We're not having explosive fights, right? What maybe we did when we were like 20, but like maybe 25 too. But anyways, but what we understand is that when we see that behavior in ourselves and in each other, we're not always perfect, but we work to go, I just took your temperature. I can see where you are. Now, I can't always go, oh, that's fine, that's good. But at least we can have a conversation about or manage our expectations about like, hey, gonna need to talk to you about the fact that you're leaving stuff everywhere. And then I can say, great. Right now, I'm going to go need to ride on my Peloton bike or go for a walk or a run to stimulate that movement touch to get me more towards whole brain. So we're going to retreat to our corners for a minute, so to speak. And then we can come back and we can engage each other in this way. So you need to set this understanding up and set the when that happens, this is what I'm going to do before there's a challenge. So
because it's really hard to set up new rules.
No, in your brainstem, it's like, hey, why are you leaving stuff around? And you're like, hey, a few words. But like, so what we need to do is understand this is the same thing for kids. Your kid is in stress and they're like hyperverbal and they're scripting and they're repeating things and they're needing like, hey, mom.
Doing
right? Hyperactive and you're trying to get them to do school and sit down. You need to understand like, hey, that was a tool. And in those videos, we give you the specific ways to like develop the tool to understand what your kid or your spouse's deflection is. And then you go, okay, so my kid, when I see my kid humming a lot, like making a lot of noises and like clicking and making noises, that my kid's deflection may be auditory verbal. So I know now when I see that more, it's not just an annoying thing. That's like okay, Johnny is very stressed right now. So I'm going to manage my expectations a bit with Johnny right now. It doesn't mean I throw him out the window, But it means right now, I'm not going to have you, I'm not going to force compliance on you. I'm going to ask you to, if you're doing the humming and the deflections in that way, and I understand that, and you've gone through this guide and you understand what you can do about that, then I may give you headphones in your sensory corner or in your thing that are going to stimulate your brain in that way. That's going to help you move towards more whole brain. Just like me, I get hyperactive and I'm moving. I need to get on my Peloton bike. I need to go for a walk, right?
Yep.
And so
For
you
me,
need to set those up ahead of time.
Absolutely. Like I've found that, and I know I'm the same way. Movement, touch, right? So the knees tapping, foot tapping. Oh man, Cassidy knows like there's an issue if I'm just sitting here tapping my foot, which
Right.
drives her insane, which is one of her deflections,
Yep.
is the sound. So sometimes those build up, but we've been able to learn that.
Yep.
And I've found that I can focus on my work 1,000 times better if I have headphones in and just listen to music with a beat. And suddenly, wow, is it streamlined and I can get things done. And so that goes for not just kids, but for you out there watching too. You might find different ways to stimulate your brain so that you can function a lot better as you're working from home. Maybe it's sitting on a yoga ball. Maybe it's a standing desk. Maybe it's walking around while you talk on the phone, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Myself, I did a 2 to 3 hour, I can't remember, it was 2.5 hours, something like that, recording just me and a screen the other night for Sherman College for CE stuff. And I knew, and it was like at 8:00 at night, and I knew it was going to be, I was, I'm in stress too. And so I created a standing space for myself, and I did it standing so that I could have some movement when I was doing it, because I just knew that that would allow me to be more effective, cognitively speaking, when I was teaching this content, because I was able to feed my brain what it needed in that moment. And knowing that it's really important to know, like, this is a moving target. A lot of the individuals I work with in Focus, we're doing kind of like that neuro rehab. We're doing that, hey, we need to specifically fill the gaps and get there so that we're more resilient. But all of us are impacted. Even the most whole brain individuals, we're impacted by stress, and so it moves up and down. So it's not just like this is just where we are. It's like, this is where we are right now. And things like, understanding these concepts and incorporating them into your life really specifically, eating healthy food, doing things to stimulate vagal tone, getting adjusted, like all of these things are super important to increase our resilience. But they're, in times of a lot of physical, chemical, emotional stress, there is a limitation. And so we have to understand, what do we do when we get to that point? And that's what this is about.
And that's the stressed out corner, right? Or the sensory corner. If you get to that point, step away, take a break, because you can't communicate well when we call it in your brainstem. So what we're referring to when you say in your brainstem is meaning in a stressed out or sympathetic state. And so that can be, you can't communicate well, you don't work well, you don't remember well, you don't learn well. And that goes for your kids too. They cannot communicate well, learn well, remember well, read well when they're in that sympathetic state. So being able to look for some of those triggers, which is the thing that we will link to Dr. Amy's resource, some of the deflections that you might see in your kids as a window into their brain. One of my favorite Dr. Amy quotes is, there are no purposeless behaviors, and behaviors are windows into the brain to understand what's happening and what they're thinking, essentially, or not thinking in that moment.
Yes. So important. And, so often for adults and for kids, we look at these things and we define ourselves or our children by the deflections. Oh, I have a hyperactive kid. Oh, I've got a bad kid. Oh, I've got a jerk of a husband. Like, instead of like, okay, why is this happening? Like, what is happening? And those are the tools that we really need to give people right now. And so, the sensory corner or whatever it is, I have people like, the kids will make a little spot in their closet that's their own spot. The importance is we make it specific to their deflective needs, and we give them control. We make it a fun thing to incorporate them in making it, when we're not in stress. And then it's just it's theirs. It's their spot. You can do this in the tiniest house. Like, you can have a space that's just for them, but it includes the stuff that they need, because we understand what their deflections are. because we've gone through these exercises. There's a lot of other tools that we have and that we're continually putting out there for people, because there's a lot of these things, like how to use a focus story to improve prediction, like how to improve tone. Yeah, tons.
Especially as things are changing so much right now. You're right. You have kids that are used to a routine, and not just kids with neuro-reflective disorders or behaviors, but I mean, all kids. Things are totally out of whack right now, right? And that can create chaos. And so Dr. Amy mentioned a focus story, which is tell me if I'm getting this correct. It's a drawing that do they do it, or do you do it as the parent, that shows them basically throughout the day what the day is going to look like visually?
Yeah, well, there's a variety of different ways to do this. It's kind of like a social story. Some people in like OT and whatnot, ABA, have used this, that are kind of, some people in those worlds are used to that, traditional therapeutic approaches, but it's very different than a social story. What it is yeah, we're using imagery to, instead of just words, instead of me saying like, all right, Ryan, so today we're going to get up, we're going to have that meeting, and then we're going to have that other meeting with that other person, and we're going to have a staff meeting, and then what we're going to do is create this content, then we're going to read that book, then we're going to go for a walk. Okay? Got it? And then expecting you to get it. Yeah. Okay, so that seemed really complex, but for a kid, and then especially a kid who's maybe not there yet, and then even a typically developing kid who maybe is there, but they're in stress, so they're in their brain stems, so they're not visualizing well. And then we say, okay, so today you're going to get up and mommy has to work, so we're going to do breakfast, and then you're going to go outside and play, and then you're going to go make that really cool chalk thing that I made for you to do, and then we're going to do this. And they're like, and then you're like, hey, I told you had to make your bed before we went and did the cool chalk thing. And they're like, and so.
Didn't even hear that.
Right. And so what we're doing is we're taking, there's a hierarchy in brain development. That's the object picture symbol hierarchy. We have 8 hierarchies of brain development. And in the object picture symbol hierarchy, we understand that symbols, written language, and then even more. So from there's another hierarchy on expressive language or spoken language. But written language, I don't know if you can see this, but symbols. Okay, written language is, more complex than, so like a list. If I made you the list, that's even more complex than if I drew you pictures. Right? So object, picture, symbol. And so the most, well, without going too far into that, just talking about the tool, the thing is we're just decreasing complexity of processing. So we're saying like, hey, I'm going to sit next to you, and it does feel silly, especially for high functioning individuals, right? And I'm telling you, this works with like high functioning older individuals too. Like, all right, so we're going to just sit down at breakfast today. We're just going to draw a picture. It doesn't have to be a good picture. It's like, we're going to draw a picture. Okay, here's us eating breakfast. Here's a stick figure of us eating breakfast. Then next thing, there's an arrow. And the next thing, in order, we're going to go outside and play on the swing set. And we make this silly. If we can, we make it silly. We do it in a connected way, because there's neurological purpose behind humor and connection. So I'm sitting next to my kid, and I'm going through that. And then when we transition to the next thing, we put this up on the fridge or whatever, we say, okay, Mila, let's go look at what the next thing is, even if she can remember. We're reducing complexity. We're saying, what is it? Oh, we're going to play on the swing set. Okay, cool. Now let's go do it. Then we come back inside. Oh, now it's time to clean your room, right? That's the picture.
We see that.
Point. Yep. And so there's a lot of complexity in how to know which variation to do in this, but we don't need to know that right now. Right now, draw the picture with them.
Boom.
I'll just tell you, it gets way more complicated than that, but you don't need to know all that right now. You just need to know this.
How about this? I want to do a couple things. I want to encourage you guys watching. If you have any questions right now, please post them in the comments, please. Yep. And then while you're posting those, Amy, if somebody wanted to take a deeper dive on this stuff, wanted to learn more, what can they do? I know you have a number of groups that we'll link underneath this, but can you tell them about the groups that they can join or where they can learn more about this information?
Yeah, so it just depends on who you are. Doctors out there, you can join we do have a Neuro-Deflective retraining group for doctors, and it's just a free group. We have like 600 members, I think, and we just do I just do tons of lessons and content and just giving doctors more information on how to help more people. And we just have tons of stuff up in there, and there's lots of engagement and good questions. And there's a mix of some doctors who've taken, some of my courses and some who haven't, and some who are in the docket to do so. So jump in there. We can put that link up.
Yeah, when we get off here, either you can jump on in the comments and just put them in the comments, and then I'll post it up top. That'd be the easiest way. What is that group called?
So that one is
on the spot. You have too many groups.
I have a lot of groups. I have a lot of things.
You have the Focus Parents group.
Yeah, that's just for Focus participants. Okay. We have Neuro-Deflective disorders, a chiropractic group. Okay. We'll get you the links. We have Neuro-Deflective disorders, a parent resource group. So that's for parents. Yep. And then we'll share the link for everybody just to have the ongoing video lessons that anybody, you don't have to know me. You don't have to ever meet me in person. Nothing. You can just, okay. So somebody I think posted,
Kevin Johnson did.
Kevin, thank you. Did you post the doctor group? And then can you also post the parent group, please? Thank you. We have the Focus Academy, but that's just for doctors who've taken level 2 and are in continued support. But I encourage anybody to find a Focus doctor. Dr. Ryan Bones and Cassidy are Focus certified, just so everybody knows. They've taken level 1 and 2. And I'm very proud of the way you've communicated this. It makes me very happy.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so then we also have if doctors want to take some seminars, we are going to have an announcement later today. We had to postpone we're having to postpone our April seminar that's in San Francisco, but we're postponing it to July. Yep. And we're going to we understand now more than ever, this is a time that more doctors are going to need this information. And we've had a lot of doctors wanting to know how they can get there. So we've got some pretty creative ways to help more people get to the level 1, level 2 this year. So
awesome. Yep. Julaine would like to know if you have any parenting books that you recommend.
Oh, funny you should ask. I have a stack of parenting books right here next to me.
How convenient.
When I left my office last week, I just stacked a whole bunch of books because I thought, I bet people are going to want some of this stuff. Okay, and they just literally happen to be sitting right next to me. So so The Whole Brain Child is a great resource. That's a really good intro. I actually give that to doctors who come to level 1. That's a super good, it's pretty basic, but it's a really good intro for doctors. The Explosive Child, or for parents and doctors. Explosive Child, this is a great book. Good one. None of these, I think, tie everything fully together. But that's kind of the gift I think that I've been given, is like just to have exposure in multiple different professions and bring it together. So this is really, anything by Sally Goddard is really great. And this one's really good. So The Well-Balanced Child. Can you see this? Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Yeah.
This is super, super, super. I think I'll do some lives on my own page on these books and things like that. What do you think, Ryan? Sally, another one, Sally. I just grabbed the stack and I'm just showing you what's right on top. I've got like a few more stacks there, but I want to get you guys. So this one's super good. So attention, balance, and coordination. Again, Sally Life. This one's great. Brain-based parenting, but it's a bit deep. It's really goes into it's a little heavy. It goes into the neurology, but it's wonderful, but it just depends on if you want that. Right now might not be the time for individuals. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Maybe next week when you're getting bored or something, but maybe not now. It's got a lot of neurology in it, but it's very good. And it really talks about like how let me just give you a little synopsis. It really talks about how your own processing is really impacting your children. And so we have to understand a lot about like what we're bringing to the table when we're engaging and connecting with, or are we engaging and connecting with our children appropriately? And so then when we add in what we know about development, then that's a really beautiful marriage. But this is good because it just really it starts to bring those concepts together for people. So
perfect.
there you go.
I love it. That's awesome. If anybody else has any other questions, please post them now. And before I forget, going to announce the winner, as I said I would, of our giveaway. We did a reviewal giveaway. So everybody got a chance to go out and review 5 local businesses and then tag those reviews or tag those businesses under the post. And we had, I think, 43 tags of businesses in that post, which is awesome. So that's 43 local businesses that got great reviews from people who know and love them. And the winner is actually of the giveaway, which I will announce now, is going to be the home quarantine package of one of Cassidy and I's favorite books and a bottle of wine. So you
I want to win it.
And a bottle of wine, and it goes to a man who I know will love both, Shane Salorza. Shane, congratulations, dude. You were the winner of our home quarantine, self-betterment, and alcohol package.
Wait, what's the book?
So I actually, get this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my shelf tonight, knowing I just picked the winner. Knowing that it's Shane, I'm going to go to our shelf tonight. I'm going to see one that I think is going to be best for, or like perfect for him, and I'm going to send that one. So I'll announce what it is. But it's a book and a bottle. One of my favorite giveaways there.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great idea. I love you, Boneses. You guys are cool.
Hey. Yeah. We love you too, and that's why we love to collaborate with you.
Yeah.
And so I want to say again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming on to the first edition of People Smarter Than Me. I'm going to call it that. This is going to be my own talk show, and it's going to be called People Smarter Than Me with Dr. Ryan Bones. And so I don't know if we're going to be doing this weekly or bi-weekly or what, but we'll figure it out. You get to be the inaugural guest, and we thank you so much. If you go, when you get done, we've had a few people link in here, but if you want to go back and comment any links that you think you have that you want to throw in here, that would be fantastic. How people can best get a hold of you. Are you moving your focus lectures online?
Good question.
Because tell them what you do and tell them what they can do now.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if anybody linked the resource. If somebody, I see some of my Focus Academy doctors were in here, Dr. Kevin Johnson in California. If you could put up that resource that for people, that would be awesome, or anybody else, so that parents can have that. Otherwise, I'll figure out how to go back and do it. I'll send it to you, Ryan. Yes, I do. In Coeur d'Alene, I've been doing once a month free workshops for parents and professionals and educators, and we have all kinds of people that come. I've been doing once a month for like 10 years, and thank you. And so we're going to obviously move those online, and we're just deciding on when to do them. So you guys can let us know at Spoelstra Family Chiropractic and Focus on our Facebook stuff or under here. And so it's in the Focus Academy group, Dr. Kevin. So yeah, you can follow our page also. We're very supportive of Beyond Bones, and we work well, and we collaborate on basically everything on life. We just collaborate in all the ways. So you guys can share it when we get a date. We'll probably do. I wanted to let people get out of their brains.
We'll do that. We'll share it, and you can learn more. But they're free, and they're a great introduction. If you, for example, have a kid or a spouse that you think that you need a little bit more education to help understand, this is a fantastic resource for that. So, all right, guys, if you have any other questions, comment them below. What we'll do is Dr. Amy's in the Beyond Bones community, so she'll be able to see comments. Tag her, tag me, and I'll tag her, whatever you want to do. And so if you have questions, if you're catching this later after we're done and you have questions, please comment them there as well, or go directly to her page and ask it there as well. But Dr. Amy, any final words?
I just thank you for everything you're doing and always have done for our community. And I just think that in challenging times, just as a reminder to all of us, including myself, in challenging times, there's always a lot of beautiful, there are beautiful things, there's joy, there's connection, and there's opportunity. And so, I know we can't always be there, and I don't have any expectation that all of us are living there 100% of the time, but let's try to help each other not be living in the fear or the worry of what is happening and what is potentially coming down the pipe, because we don't know. And
Right.
so let's set ourselves some really specific short term, while looking at the long term, but short term goals and action steps. Let's find the joy and connection. And using a lot of these strategies will help us do that. So thank you. And I love and appreciate you guys and all of you out there. If I can help you in any way, I am here to do that.
Well, we love and appreciate you as well. Thank you for being on today. We appreciate it. And this concludes the first edition of People Smarter Than Me with Dr. Ryan Bones. Until next time, over and out.
Over and out.